there, Bookkeeping Side Hustle community. It's Kate. So glad to have y'all listening in to our next Behind the Hustle interview. And this time it's with Dawn Slokan. This interview is a part of the series that I've been doing where I'm interviewing awesome bookkeeping entrepreneurs who are spilling all the tea about how they built their business. The purpose of these interviews is to provide a real life look behind the scenes of what it's like to be a successful entrepreneur in this bookkeeping and accounting field. I want to make sure that we get accurate messages out there about how, yes, this can be a great business for some. It's probably not the best business for everybody, but it changed my life. I'm guessing Dawn's going to end up saying something along those lines, similar, but we'll hear. And I know that she'll also share things that probably weren't all roses. So we'll get to hear some of that same too. I'll ask the same questions that I always ask our guests. And I'll just say, make sure you're subscribed to the Bookkeeping Side Hustle YouTube channel so that you get all of these notifications whenever we do these again. Before we jump in though, I'm glad to thank our sponsor, WriteTool. This episode is sponsored by WriteTool. If you use QuickBooks Online without WriteTool, you don't know what you're missing. WriteTool enhances the entire experience for QuickBooks Online power users with the free version providing all sorts of navigational improvements and shortcuts, and the pro version, which adds batching tools to delete, create, edit many types of transactions in batch, and it's going to save you hours of work in your monthly bookkeeping and cleanup work. So visit writetool.app. Let's just start with the free edition, and then when you're ready to upgrade, use the coupon code HUSTLE30 to get 30% off the Pro Edition for the first year. That's writetool.app. And now I want to say hi to Dawn. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad. So Dawn and I met at some function, I believe. I think it was more social than actually. Did we meet first on like a rooftop situation, or were we in like a class together at Scaling New Heights? I know we met.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember if we met beforehand. But for me, I already knew you because I'm a bookkeeping bud, and Cindy talks about you so often. So I just feel like I've known you for a long time, but we connected at Scaling New Heights for sure.
I remember though, it was like a social gathering, because my memory is we ended up talking about using a computer, and you said you didn't use a mouse, and I wanted to die for you. And you're like, no, I'm still really, really good. What do you mean you have to use a mouse? And so I was like, you're the only bookkeeper who never does a mouse. So if anyone else doesn't use a mouse, y'all should chime in the comments, because y'all are kindred spirits with Dawn. She says she's fire. You can work the keyboard. So
to be fair, I have a mouse. I am on the keypad on my keyboard so much more. Maybe that's a sign of how old I am. I don't know.
I know what it is. It's in my session. You, I think, won one of the T-Account mouse pads, and you're like, I don't need it. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? But these are the mouse pads that I was giving out to people who were brave enough to answer some questions, I think. So anyway, that's our history. And she is she owns her firm, and we're going to learn all about it. So let's just jump right in. I want you to start off with the educational background. What training did you take? What formal education, informal education? Was your former career your training ground? What led up to you having the skills to be able to do this kind of work?
So my background is, I call it traditional high school, college, and in college it was undergrad with finance. And then I did a master's degree, and I concentrated in management and human resources. And I had a little break between the two, which I highly recommend, because I think it added so much more value to the master's programs. But and then I worked as a staff accountant. I worked even in college, I got a work study job in business, and that was just a coincidence with the university I was working at, doing accounts payable stuff on the job training. It was great. And then I was a CFO for a really large private school organization, and I had my daughter, and I knew at that point that I needed to kind of make a change, and I didn't want to quit working, so I answered a Craigslist ad, and it was for a bookkeeper for another woman who has a business that's very successful, much like ours. And it was a lot of on-the-job training then, because even though I had had all these years of progressive, on-the-job, traditional finance experience, it was not the same as doing small business bookkeeping.
For sure. Yeah, they don't teach like the small business like part of it, even like in the formal accounting classes or finance classes. Like we're reading like SEC 10Ks, like which still has an assets and liabilities and equity section, but it's not the same as like your like local window installer who has a big operation, like in your big metro area. Like it's just not the same. Yeah. So what about this? I'm just curious because of how much you've had your hands on accounting for so long. Did you come with like a software specialty, or did you have to learn the software, the small business software side as you started your business?
I think I have a talent with software in general that I can find commonality between programs in the accounting world. So I used an Oracle product at the university. I used a different type of GL product, once I was out of there. And then we used an ERP system in a job, and we used a nonprofit education specific software. But at the heart of all of them, they were all, what we're used to seeing now with the graphical user interface and with the, add vendor and that kind of thing. And so I think I just was able to quickly learn the difference between the softwares. And I think that's the strength I brought to it more than knowing one specific software. When I did start working, I started immediately when I started in small business bookkeeping, I started immediately with QuickBooks Online. So I actually have never really used QuickBooks Desktop. And when I started my business for myself, the first thing I did was anybody that I talked to, if they said they were on QuickBooks Desktop, we would convert them off. And then eventually I even stopped accepting QuickBooks Desktop clients at all.
Okay. I would say, so we're recording this in 2025, like no one should be starting their bookkeeping entrepreneur venture with QuickBooks Desktop mentality. Like it's got to all be conversions, or just draw the line in the sand and say, I do not work with you, and don't feel bad about it. Walk away from that, because it's not a good strategy going forward. Okay, so that's your educational background. Obviously really smart. I love that you just kind of confidently claimed, like, I'm good at software. Like, well, good for you. Like I think you have to have a little bit of that. I don't know that I would say that. Are you the one, like, when the printer breaks, you'll like fix it instead of cry and ask someone else to fix it? Yeah, I'm more I'll cry and ask someone else to fix it. I can get there, but there truly are. I think within the accounting space, because accounting isn't rocket science, it just needs to be taught. Like basic accounting, no one's like a genius, like a born genius, because it's not. It's like the system that humans have created versus like some sort of like universal like truth, like math, like physics or something, right? It's just you learn it. But to have confidence with software, I think would really this would be a great industry, because some people have just carved out a niche, basically being more of a software expert than like an accounting expert. Yeah, you can kind of do the accounting, but you're more of an app head and integrator, and you can help people pick their tech stack. Businesses will pay for that, and it's still all under the umbrella of like you're fixing their accounting stuff. That's how they see it all, Very cool. Well, how about the first client? So how'd you get the first client? Were you working at the same time and you just got one for a while? Like, what's the whole story about the first one?
Yeah, so I actually love this story because, as I mentioned, I was CFO for a large private school system. I thought that I would quit and that I would be a stay-at-home mom. Made it about 4 weeks when I was hitting that Craigslist ad. And at the exact same time, my doorbell rang. And a person who was a subcontractor, she was the driver's ed subcontractor for the school system, was at my door with a gift for my new daughter. And I was like, oh, wow, this is great. It's so great to see you. She goes, yeah, it's a bribe. I need you to come do my books. And I was like, wait, what? And she explained me a little bit more about her business. She wasn't just a driver's ed teacher, and she hadn't done her books. This was, late in the year, and she hadn't done her books all year, and she had the proverbial shoebox, and she was growing, and she knew she needed help. And so she was like, yeah, come do this for me. I said, I just quit this big job I've been doing for the last 7 years, and I am not coming to, do this for you. And about 3 weeks later, I started doing this subcontracting work. I mean, it was 5 hours a week of subcontracting work, like this Craigslist job, making about the same as I had made in college, by the way. And I thought, this is silly. Why don't I just go see about her books? And so she became my first client. She was my client for almost 10 years, and we scaled her business from the shoebox to 4 departments, multi-million dollars in revenue, and we sold her business in January of 2024, and she is now half living in 2 different places, enjoying retirement at a young age with, it's still great life ahead of her.
That's amazing. What a great first client story. So how long ago did this happen? I'm trying to think about just what age is your business?
Yeah, so it is technically 12 years old.
Okay.
You can track that. That's the same age as my daughter.
Okay.
And the real key though is I did not intentionally grow my business. So while technically it is 12 years old, until 2020, I purposely stayed so incredibly small. It was a true side hustle. It was not, a business. It was something to keep my brain moving.
Right.
That's about all.
That about tracks with her, like fully getting into elementary school and yeah. And then we have, if you go, we did an unorthodox schooling for our last duty station. So my kids were only in school till noon. And then they came home with a lot. It was half homeschool, half, but I had the mornings, but then now in Fort Worth, they're in school every day. And I still do plenty for myself, but I'm not going to sit around. I enjoy what I do. So, and I've found that I have been trying to make choices because I do feel like I actually have a lot of time, with my kids being gone. I just have this mentality of just make sure I'm enjoying what I'm doing, because then it's not going to feel like work. So I'm doing more and more of what I like and less of what I don't like. And so my business is funky, and a lot of people know that. And we're not going to talk about mine. We're talking about Don's, but it's more of what I like, less of what I don't like, as my kids are out of the house more and more. So, great story. Okay, now, maybe we'll take it down a little bit. We'll go womp womp. What's been the hardest part of entrepreneurship?
I think it is growing your business.
Okay.
Like I said, until 2019, I felt super successful. I felt like I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. I was working the number of hours I wanted to work. And then 2019, we were talking about this a little bit before. I decided I wanted to grow. And so I went to my first accounting conference, which was Intuit Connect 2019, San Jose, California. I decided to grow, and 4 months later, the world shut down. And so all of these big ideas that I left California with, I just felt very stuck. I don't know how to take this anywhere. And, everything shut down. And so I spent that first year trying to grow, of not having any connections, not having any, everybody was scrambling. Everybody was trying to figure out how to help everybody. And so it was really a tough time.
Did you, have you grown it like you wanted? Obviously I'm guessing you have grown some, but have you cracked that nut? Is it still hard to grow your business?
Yeah. So once I came out of, everything going on there, I joined Bookkeeping Buds, which is, I met them at 2019's QuickBooks Connect, and then at the 2020 virtual QuickBooks Connect, I reconnected with Cindy and did a one-on-one session with her. And that was really when I started to grow. And I grew so fast over that next 20-month period. I then started losing clients because, unfortunately, I was growing so fast that I wasn't keeping up with the demands, which again is why I say growing your business is the hardest part of growing your business, because either you don't know how to grow, or you figure out how to grow and then you haven't kept up with growing. And then I had to deal with losing clients because I wasn't keeping up with their demands. Then I had to shut all the growth down. And then I was stuck. I was kind of like, oh, well, now what do I do and how do I grow again?
So did you like not have the skills to do it, and now you do have the skills to grow? Like, did Bookkeeping Buds give you the skills? Was there other education that you had to take to learn the skill of growing a business?
Yeah, you can't do it all alone. If you want to grow, if you want to grow as much as I did, you cannot do it alone. So I hired. That was on advice from Bookkeeping Buds. And then, as I said, when I started losing those clients, then I felt stuck. So I still wanted to grow, but then I didn't have the pipeline to do it. I was stuck. And so Cindy in particular, she helped me feel okay asking for help. Same with when I was floundering and I wasn't getting things done, it was being okay with asking for help. So even though I felt real confident in my knowledge, skills, and ability to do the bookkeeping, I wasn't feeling confident in my ability to be an entrepreneur, to grow a business, to manage staff. And so I had to get okay with asking for help.
Okay. I want to learn more about the team you've built. But now, also bookkeepingbuds.com, not sponsored. This is part of her story, but I've heard a lot of people say great things about that group. Cindy has been super helpful as a mentor to me. I mean, I'm not an official member of the group, but I've been to an event she's hosted. I definitely think could be a really great, sounding board coach, growth group. So the person to ask questions to, but also the group she has built is also a good place for that to happen too. She's built something special with Bookkeeping Buds. So now let's just talk about the great part about entrepreneurship. So thanks for the sharing, just that it really is kind of hard. And I think that what you described is there is a difference between side hustle and true, growing like a real business. And I don't think one is better than the other. I think plenty of people make more money than people who have a big business. You might not, actually, once the bottom line is done and you've paid all your people, you might be like, actually, I was better when I had a smaller, fewer clients and it was just me. So you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself, y'all, what you're actually better at. So thanks for sharing just that truth about what it's like to wear both, those two different paths. You've almost been on two different paths, small, kids were young, now you're trying to grow. And so anyway, now the best part. What's been so great about having your own business? Your business is called Virtually Dawn, is that right?
Yeah, awesome. Virtually Dawn. Kind of the play on my name, and it's just like a new day to do business better. That kind of byline there.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the best part, I think, is the total flexibility that I have in my life, is if I want to grow, I can. If I want to stay where I'm at for a while, I can. If I want to interact with my clients, I can. If I want to bury my head in the sand, I can. We were talking about having children, someone still in school, taking time for ourselves. I don't work on Mondays. It is very rare. Now, I might work on Monday for me, for getting my own book done or getting ahead for the week or, catching up. But it is extremely rare for me to interact with a client on a Monday. And my email signature at the bottom of it says that I do not work on Mondays and don't expect to reply on Mondays. And I got to tell you, sometimes that's the toughest day of the week because everybody comes in on Monday morning with almost mini resolutions on how they're going to start their week. So sometimes new clients can be put off by that. But I think that once we get into the cycle and they realize there's no real emergency, she'll get to it on Tuesday, or her team is there for us, then it's okay. So that is my favorite part of being an entrepreneur, is really that flexibility. And I provide that to my team as well. I do very little dictating to them other than just get the work done.
How much did you agonize over whether to put that in your email signature?
I agonized a ton. This goes to kind of I am a huge believer today, in mentorship and networking. And 2 years ago, that would not be a huge believer thing for me. And it was through that kind of conversation with other people that were like, so Nancy McClellan, for example, when she's out of the office, you get an out of an office reply, and it's like, this is what I'm doing and why I'm not going to answer you. And it's like real in your face. And the first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, do people like that? And now I'm like, it's genius, because they know what she's doing. They know why she's not there, and they know when she's coming back to help. And it's not the cheesy, like, I'm out of the office, I'm on vacation. Like, it's personal and it's real and it's in your face. And that's what I feel like this is. I'm not answering your questions on Monday because I'm not there.
I think this is a good interaction moment for anyone watching live or after the fact. Put in the comments if you have anything sort of firm like that in your email signature, or maybe just when you're out of office, so we can share each other's ideas. I know a lot of people put something where it's like, I'm sending this email at a time that's convenient for me. You may answer at a time that's convenient for you. And so, because that way they're like, okay, I'm sending emails at 4 a.m. Because guess what, guys? I'm up at 4 a.m, whether I want to be or not. Like, my body just wakes up. I go to bed early. And sometimes I'm like, do I schedule this to go out? Do I want people to know? I don't have anything powerful in my email signature, but that's inspiring. And I just had a feeling that you probably thought about, do I say I don't respond on Mondays for a real long time? Because that's what we do, is we like overthink things. Awesome. Okay, so let's get to this team question. So, you've hinted at it. You said it, like, how big are we talking? Contractors or W-2? Give us the story of that. How has that gone for you? Has it all been great? What's the story of the team?
Yeah, so I have currently two contractors. One is 3/4 time, one is very limited part-time. Both have been with me for a long time now, but I have had two previous employees, both of which I had to let go. They both were let go because they took that flexibility too far, thinking that meant they just really didn't have to be accountable at all, as opposed to, flexibility just meaning it's flexible. So my team now is great, and I just started the process to hire my first full-time employee, and that position will start in January. So,
were the other two people that didn't work out, were they full-time or part-time?
No, they were both part-time.
So this position is different. Do you feel like you learned a lesson, and that part-time employee is not the way to go, and that's why this was a full-time one, or what's the deal?
Yeah, it goes back to the growth cycle. So my role is changing. I love client work. It's a struggle for me. We hear entrepreneur, like, if you want to grow your business, you should work on your business and not in your business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a buzzwords or catchphrase, but you hear it all the time if you're going to management stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been reluctant to give up working in the business because I actually really like it. I like journal entries. I like data entry. I didn't say it, but I got into business because I wanted to, like, play with office supplies for a living. And this is a way to make money playing with office supplies. My pen collection is embarrassing. So so I say that because it was hard for me to not want to be in the business anymore. And then it kind of clicked, right? Then I was like, oh, wow, now I want to see what I can do with this business. So I am working in a business. It's just I'm working in my business instead of working in everybody else's business all the time. So this position is actually freeing up all of our junior time and admin time. So it's a part junior bookkeeper, part admin, so that my existing part-timers can do a little more high-level stuff because they've been around for a long time, they know their clients, and then I free up even more so that I'm handling even less of the day-to-day. I'll still be involved with my clients. I love my clients, but it'll be much more strategic, much less day-to-day. And I'm starting a community as inspired by Kate. So
well, let me stick to this little script, and then if we have time, we'll ask you about, because you came to the session about, that was the serving clients one to many, and okay, but so that's a great team story. I like the idea of you're the high-level accountant now, and you hired two people, and as they've proven themselves, they've proven that they can do this high-level work, which allows you to, I don't know, because I feel like some people are worried about, like, I gotta hire that senior person, but really you've just sort of made sure that your junior people could be the senior person. Cool. I'm going to be thinking about that. I can tell. I'm brewing on that.
And here's a little note. You said earlier about you don't necessarily need to know everything about accounting to get into this. My one contractor is an engineer, was an engineer, is always going to be an engineer. I don't know. It's the engineering brain, and it's an amazing brain. So if you're looking to hire, I recommend finding an engineer because that the way they think is perfectly suited to accounting. The other contractor actually has the exact same background I do. Finance, MBA, management, it just so yeah, I think they've learned and grown on the job, and now they're ready for more, and I'm ready for less.
Cool. Let's talk about your tech stack. I like asking people that. Are there any that you love? Please share it. If there's any that you don't love, I'm fine if you say that too. But what are you using to run your business?
Using to run my business. We use Anchor for proposal software. And actually, I've recommended that to some clients for their own software. It's not just for accountants. We use only QuickBooks Online. I'm not married to that forever, but that's been where we're at now. We use Gusto and JustWorks for payroll. Depends on if the client has one state or multi-state payroll. I'm on Microsoft products. I hate Google products. I keep a Google account because I keep getting invited to share Google Docs and sheets, but I always download them into Microsoft products to turn them around.
Break the share. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to your sponsor. I use WriteTool. I don't know how to use QuickBooks without it anymore. I use the paid version.
Oh my gosh. Just because maybe they'll stick around the sponsor. She just said, I don't know how to use QuickBooks without WriteTool anymore. That is a testimony. Oh my gosh. Well, there you go. And start off for free, y'all. WriteTool.app. Keep going. What else? WriteTool and what else?
Yeah. And we use Dext and Makers Hub because we do full service here. So we do payroll, AP and AR. So that's why I've been pushing everyone to Anchor for their AR stuff. I use Dext to process large volume receipts, bills, etc. And then we've moved all clients on AP into Makers Hub. We started that January of 25, and it's been going real well.
Y'all, I have an interview with Makers Hub. I think it's about 1 year old. I think we did it last fall. So check them out. I remember thinking it was very like wizard-like. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, just the what has come a long way when you can like split stuff up, and it's like taking all the lines of the receipts, and it's very, very smart. Lots of AI built into it is kind of my thought. Okay, so that's your tech stack.
That's our tech stack.
The only thing you said that you use to run your business is the Microsoft product. The rest of it is kind of client work. Anything else to like run the business for like emailing or like anything else?
Oh yeah, I guess I missed a big one. We use Double, which formerly known as Keeper.
Yes.
So that was, you speak about a team, that was instrumental in giving my team the tools they needed to get their jobs done.
Okay.
Just the project management, client communication, the portal system. We also internally, I mean, I use Microsoft for email, I use Outlook. I have been evaluating Fixer, which is a email AI generated process there, but I haven't jumped on board yet. I'm a huge Claude user for AI. That's a chat GPT alternative.
Okay.
Yeah, but Double, formerly known as Keeper, that was a game changer when I hired staff.
Okay. Awesome. And my favorite question is about how much money you make. If you're able to talk about revenue you charge your clients, if you're able to talk about the bottom line, if you're able to talk about percentage growth, if you're able to compare it to what you made before, just anything that we'll take whatever you are willing to give. I know it's a personal question, but I want people to have an understanding, because there are some people who are doing this work who should go get a job, and like you will be better for your family like by getting a job, and that is like an okay path. So it's hard to make that if we don't know how much what the upside maybe potentially is or realistically is. So what can you share about your the cash coming to the company?
Yep. Okay. So we start now. So let me back up. Back in the day, that very first client I had, I was charging, so that was in 2012, and I was charging her $15 an hour, which again was what I was making when I was in college, because I had no idea how to charge. And I actually myself was undervaluing the service I was providing to her. So we'll put it that way. And then 2022, I switched to fixed pricing. So we have starting packages. So my basic bookkeeping packages, which is like reconciliations only, basically once a year reporting, tax prep type stuff. We don't do tax. Those now start at $5.95 a month, and some of them take as little as an hour a month. And then we go up from there, and our full service package starts at $2,500 a month. And I keep getting told I'm not charging enough for those.
Oh, so you're doing $5.95 for a once a year report with just reconciliations, basically?
Basically.
Oh my gosh. Y'all raise your hand if you're poor. I'm not. Oh my gosh, that's so inspiring. Okay. So these are big numbers, I think. I would say, I mean, y'all can listen to all my interviews. You're crushing it. You're crushing it.
Now, I do want to say we have moved away from lower revenue clients, right? So our clients' revenue is starting at 1 million. Our sweet spot is between 1 and 5 million, and our pricing changed when we changed our client makeup. So we do not fully niche, but we do have 2 micro niches. One is medical practices, and one is consulting firms, and those practices and firms are million plus. So I know what it's like to charge less, especially when you're helping the smallest of businesses, right?
That's where I am.
Yeah. And I think that is a really important note, because there are people who are, I'm philanthropic. Like, I give everything to my clients, and I give work away all the time, because I look at those prices and I do that. I think, wow, that's a lot of money, and so you deserve a lot from me. But I used to do that for a lot less because they couldn't afford it. And it wasn't until we moved into the spaces that we're in that we were able to start charging those higher dollars.
So is it like a question on your intake form? Like, do you make over $1 million? Or is it just on your website?
Yeah, we have a client discovery survey. So if I'm going to talk to a new potential client, either they come to the website or I get a referral, the first thing I do is ask them to complete the client discovery. And it asks, how many transactions are you processing? How many transactions are on your bank statement? How many bank statements do you have? And then one of the final questions is, what is your revenue? And it gives ranges. And if they are not at least over 500,000, I don't even look at it. If they're 500,000 and they have, like they're in a growth cycle,
Right.
then we'll start talking about what that's going to look like in the next 12 months or so.
I have 2 sticky notes above my shoulder. One says posture check, so I stand up and sit up straight. And then that's been around for a while. The newest one said big money task. And I just feel like you're saying like big money numbers. And like, I wrote myself that note because I think there's just this idea of like, maybe I have to stop talking. Like how am I acting like big money today? I don't know. And I don't really know what it means. I just felt like writing it, but it was like this idea, like I don't talk to that many businesses that make over $1 million in my business. And so to just like that would be a big money task for me to just be like, am I gonna like should I do that? I don't anyway. It's like a mentality thing, maybe.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble raising. I didn't have trouble raising my middle or my upper tier packages because there's a lot more in those, right? Like we're giving more work to get more money. It's not just like, oh, we don't base your fee off of a percentage of what you're making. So it's not just if you're a $5 million company, you're paying me more per month, right? We're basing it off of the work that we're doing for you, the services we're providing. But raising that bottom tier for that amount of work to where it is, one of the things that helped was what are people paying other people who are doing a bad job? So, for example, a nearly automated, let's say, live bookkeeping service that's put out by a huge company, they're starting at just about that price. Right. They don't advertise it, but when you get in there and you find out what work they're doing and what, who they're rejecting and who they're accepting for their prices, they're about at that $595 pricing. So if they're going to do it, why can't I? Why shouldn't I? Because people are paying them. A lot of people are paying them because they've got advertising. They should be paying me. We do a better job. I know we do a good job. That's like the number one thing I can tell you about my company is we do a good job.
You're amazing. Okay. Debbie is asking if the ranges on that. This is net income or gross income. Whenever you're asking people, the prospective clients, how much money they make, are these gross figures?
It's gross figures.
Yeah, that's what I thought because they don't know their net profit.
No, they have no idea. Trust me, they have no idea what their net profit is.
That the easiest number for a business, I think, to come up with most of the time is like summing their invoices, right? Like I know what I've been like charging people, and I can multiply that by the clients I have, but then it just all falls apart.
Yeah. Or they'll tell you how much money they have in the bank, but they won't tell you how much they have in outstanding liabilities.
Yeah. Yep. We've gone a little long, but I'm going to ask you to tell what's this community that you're building?
So some very inspiring lady named Kate did a session at Scaling New Heights, and I was sitting in her session and I was listening and I thought, I know someone who needs this. So we work a lot with medical practices, and there is a whole contingent of doctor that is paid as a 1099 contractor. They're not W-2 and they're not medical practices. And they don't understand that being paid as a 1099 physician is essentially they are a business owner. By being paid in that way, they're a business owner. They're not big enough for a big set of books. They're not big enough to even really I mean, they might make the money to pay me $5.95, but they don't have, it's not that complicated to do their books. And so we are starting a community for these specific types of professionals to DIY their books, but have the resources and the access to someone who understands medical practices, someone who understands accounting. And by the way, we're giving a free QuickBooks account away to everyone that joins the community that comes in without accounting software.
So you're going to pay for their Simple Start?
Ledger.
Ledger. So you're not that much of a Santa Claus. Like,
I mean,
how much is Ledger now?
10.
Yeah. Okay. So fair enough. Fair enough. Yes. I think that's a pretty good business. Like, you have to pitch what you're offering, and to just say like, we'll take care of your software. They probably don't even need to know exactly which QuickBooks they're on. They don't really need to know. You're giving them one that's sufficient. Very cool. Well, I'm glad that to see people that you're basically deciding that you're going to build your practice in ways that like the rest of the accounting industry has not said this is how you're supposed to serve clients. Like, it's supposed to be private, it's supposed to be one-on-one, and you're like, well, I'm going to just try and see. It sounds fun, maybe, and you could crash and burn, but it sounds interesting enough, and you like client work. That one of the examples that I heard was that why someone who wanted to keep doing, who wanted to start a community, was because it allowed him to still be involved with clients. And so as you've said these things about how you're trying to grow the business, you're trying to kind of step away. Well, if you still got that itch of like, but I really want to like talk about QuickBooks. I want to like see a QuickBooks screen instead of like worry about marketing. That's a cool way to do it, but you're not like that linchpin that's gonna, for the big clients. So cool. Well, can you close us out? What's your best advice for a new bookkeeper who's looking at this, or a new bookkeeping entrepreneur who's listening to this, thinking, maybe I am ready to go back to work, or maybe I'm ready to quit my job and do something else? What's your best advice?
It is talk to people. Talk to people. Don't just, it's so easy as a bookkeeper to hide behind a screen. It's so easy to say no when someone asks you to have a conversation on camera or to share personal details about you or your business. Terrifying, but it's important. It's how I grew. It's how I got here. Being vulnerable, opening up. I mean, and now I'd say once a week I'm having coffee on a camera, talking to a stranger, and I go to conferences and I tell people what I do. I tell people my story.
Awesome. Well, thank you for telling this YouTube channel and this community your story. You built something really great. I think we got a lot to learn from you, and maybe it sounds like you're a get out about town girl. So maybe we'll see you at a conference. Some of these people, if you're listening, I bet nothing would thrill Dawn more than a stranger to walk up to her and say, "I heard you talk about how much you charge your clients and how you used to charge $15 an hour," and you'd be like so happy that someone came up and was like, "Wow!" And they're there because I heard this interview. That's what I hope these interviews. That's my goal with these interviews, is that the right people will listen to them, and like, you seem like you've built something that's really working well for your family and your life. I know that's what bookkeeping has done for me. It's just been this huge blessing. Debbie's saying thank you, Kate and Dawn. We'll wrap up now. Y'all, I got another one of these scheduled in a week or two. I'm doing them every 2 weeks, so please subscribe to the channel. Adios, everyone. Thanks again, Dawn.
Bye. Thank you.